Okay, we're going to get started in just a moment. Just making sure audio is working good. Cool. It sounds like everything's up and running, and we are ready to rock and roll. How's everybody doing tonight? I hope everybody's doing well. I'm just sort of getting all my stuff placed here. Cool. Awesome. Okay, let's get this party started. How's everybody doing? Good to see you all. Awesome. Let me turn down my audio here. Got that going on. I hope you're all doing well. Welcome everybody to another fantastic live stream. I think this is live stream 61 today. So we're having fun with this. Audio is okay. Cool. Thanks, Angeli. Appreciate that. Thanks for the feedback. Appreciate you joining in and hanging out. So, friends, if this is the first time you're hanging out on the live stream or you're back again, do me a favor. Just type that you're joining in the live stream, who you are, introduce yourself. We've got a great group of folks that join on every live stream or watch on the replays, and we're sort of building this community of like-minded visual artists and visual storytellers and filmmakers. So drop your name in the chat. Let me know you're here. Say hello. Say hello to your other friends. I got Yazalai hanging out with me tonight. We got some other people, it sounds like, in the background here. Don't be shy. Jump in, say hello, get to meet these people. You don't get to find every day like-minded people all working together to learn and hone their craft and improve what they're working on right now. We have everything from animation folks to comic book artists to live action filmmakers to just different types of storytellers joining in, either watching these live shows and participating, or just hanging out and watching the replay at your own leisure. So I appreciate everybody jumping on and hanging out. If we haven't met before, my name is Paul Angeli, and I am a live action storyboard artist. And I created this channel, we're 1 week away from 5 months ago. I can't believe it's already been 5 months. It's just mind blow. It's just amazing to have, so many months that we put this in. I've been streaming for three times a week on Mondays, Thursdays, and Saturdays. This one is number 61, I think. Yep. 61, and I appreciate everybody hanging out with me. So again, I'm a live action storyboard artist. I created this channel to be a resource for you, my YouTube friends out there. I wanted this to be a resource, so I could share my journey and processes with you. There's a lot of topics we talk about, and I want to make sure that I'm providing as much information to you as possible so you could hone in your craft. So if you're somebody who is new to storyboarding, new to visual storytelling, someone who might be interested in getting into becoming a storyboard artist or a visual storyteller, or you're somebody who's already working professionally, or you've done a few gigs and you want to get going on a few projects, but you want to I need to hone in my craft. I need to level up my work, or you're just somebody that likes to see what does a storyboard artist do? How does that work? How does that person's creativity go into a feature film, feature animation, music video, corporate video, whatever it might be, commercial, how does that work? So if all those things interest you, I would highly ask for you to subscribe to the channel. Please consider subscribing. Subscribe right now. Just click the subscribe button and hit that bell notification button to be notified when one of my streams hits out every single week. We update 3 times a week. So, on the channel too, we've been doing a lot of these live streams and do a lot of how-tos and tutorials. I've done a lot of different, putting together all these videos outside that I'm going to start pushing out, so it's a little bit shorter time frame and get you right to the data and the content that you need. So I've been working behind the scenes quite a bit, and looking forward to introducing those new videos and programs to you. So exciting stuff coming down the pipeline here, and so happy to be here. So I come to you 3 times a week, and that's on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays. So real quick, just to give you the lineup throughout the week. So on days like today, this is what I call my Mastering the Basics series. So this is your how-to series. How do we get things, how do we get storyboarding? How do we do the how-tos? How do we do the tutorials? So this is sort of our teaching segment throughout the week. And this is what I'm focused on Tuesdays. So today we're talking about cinematic storyboarding and cinematic storyboards, and how do you make those flat images more cinematic, and how do you convey that cinematography in your storyboards. And then on Thursdays, I have my sketching after hours. So sketching after hours, think about it as sort of like your happy hour. We get done with work and we want to hang out and just sort of chill and draw together. I think drawing is so critically important in terms of what you're doing, and I don't care what type of drawing you do. I don't know if you're somebody that likes to just dilly-dally on copy paper, or you love doing a sketchbook and doing your sketchbooking. I think it is so important to do that each and every day, whether if you just got like 5 minutes, or you have a significant amount of time where you're doing some master studies, you're doing some reverse storyboarding, those type of things. And a lot of these, this is one of my books back from 2017, hanging out, doing the good, the bad, the ugly, Eli Wallach, Clint Eastwood, and Lee Von Cleef, those characters, just having fun with it. I always like going through some of my sketchbooks to see, what I've been working on. It's I did a lot of cartooning back at this point in time. Let's see, where am I going? Oops. Over here, I got some. I was trying to show this flying character. I don't know if I can't. It's on a weird thing there. Let's see what else I got. Just different characters, creatures, different styles. I'm just looking to see if there's anything that I liked. Hey, that's pretty cool. Let's see here. I was drawing really big at that time. Holy smoke. Let's see what I got here. Just different characters, beauty characters, and stuff like that. That's all back in the day. I guess this was back in 2017, man. That was so long ago. Just trying different concepts of different, pieces of art. I was doing a lot of cartooning at that time back in 2017, a lot of animation. But the point is have your sketchbook, draw every day, and that gives you an excuse to hang out with me on Thursdays. And I usually pick a topic. We've done, I think we were doing anatomy last week, some basic simplification of anatomy. I'll go over, sometimes we just sketch and draw. Other times I'm giving a little quick lesson for those of you that are just getting into drawing and honing in your skills. And then on Saturdays is sort of our jam session day. And on Saturdays, I host my storyboard jam sessions, in which we pick a topic. It could be action adventure, it could be fantasy, it could be horror. I pick a different topic, and I'm not going off a shooting script or anything like that. I'm just going out of my imagination, and we storyboard a whole a sequence as far as we can. I think last Saturday we were doing a simplified action sequence to get going. So we have all 3 of those live streams that you're welcome to participate with me. Join in live, ask questions, sort of try to give some good feedback or answer questions while we're on the live stream. I take breaks to say hello to everybody and chit chat, and but at the same time, so if you think about it, the overall strategy is I'm trying to give you the learning introduction at the beginning of the week. You can sort of practice during the live sketching session, and then we pull it all together on a Saturday, and you put that storyboarding all together. So this has been going strong. I really appreciate everybody hanging out on the channel and helping this channel grow. I cannot believe how many people are subscribed to this channel right now. We are short by what I think we got like 80. No, it's like a 77 more people to break 1,000. It'll be 78. That would break 1,000 subscribers in just this short 5 months. I'm just so thankful and appreciative of everybody supporting the channel. I got a lot of my pro friends out there supporting the channel, folks that are currently working in animation and other industries, live action, joining in with the live streams and on the channel. And for those of you that are brand new and this is something new that you're after, you're passionate about filmmaking, passionate about animation, passionate about your art, and wanting to see where you can go with this, I'm so happy you've joined in this channel, and I hope I can help you and give you the mentoring that you need to get you where you'd like to be. So anyways, let's go into the chat real quick and see who's hanging out with us tonight. So I already said hello to Yazalai. I'm so happy you can join Yazalai. Yazalai's been with us quite a few times through these live streams. Appreciate it. I got Eva Hugh. Hi, I'm Ava, an animation student from Taiwan. Welcome, my friend. Thanks for joining in. Appreciate you taking the time. And then I got my buddy Tornado T, who's been with me from the beginning. I got Long just jumped in. Hey, Long goes by the handle Useless Guy. Hey, how's that going? How are you doing? How's your artwork coming along? So, hope everybody's doing good. If this is your first time in the chat, drop your name into the chat. Let me know you're hanging out with me tonight, and love to say hello and say hello to other friends within the chat. Remember, this is our group, our community of people as we're growing and participating together. Say hello to each other, share each other's information, help inspire each other as we go forward. So again, if you're enjoying this, please consider subscribing, and then don't forget to hit that like button and drop a quick little comment, even if you just, hey, listen, I watched, I enjoyed the live stream, Paul. That helps to tell the YouTube algorithm so we can get to more visual storytellers out there on YouTube and through Google and YouTube. So I really appreciate the support, and thank you so very much for supporting my channel. Okay, let's get into, let's see, I just lost my connection a few minutes ago. Yeah, just a heads up talking about, thanks Long, hope you're back on again. A couple things. There's a huge lightning storm going over here in Pennsylvania, and the power just went out about 20 minutes right before the show started going. So I do apologize if the power goes a blip and we lose each other. I'll see quickly if we can get back on. If not, we'll try to do a redo. But right now it seems like we're status quo. Everything's going okay. We'll just keep rolling. Okay. So okay. Boom. Let's go into Little Paul. So everybody's doing good. Everybody's doing okay. Just making sure. You guys drawing? I want to make sure you guys are drawing. Are you drawing your boards? Are you working on stuff? Yazalai, Tornado T, Long. Is everybody drawing? Are you keeping going on your work? And I would highly, and the same thing goes with Ava. Hey, keep going, keep working, keep striving, keep creating your artwork. Super important. Okay, let's get into tonight's topic. Let me go to Little Polly here. Where did you go, Little Polly? Boom. Boom. And one more time. Boom. Come on. There we go. Here we go. Cinematic storyboarding is our lesson for tonight. And I'm excited about this one. This is pretty cool. We're going to talk a little bit about filmmaking today. And within the filmmaking, we're going to talk about filmmaking and about how do you make that flat image into a cinematic storyboard? How do you make it cinematic? What does it mean by cinematic? So how do you take and I think that it is super, super important for a storyboard artist to know your film language, how films are made, so pretty much your production pipeline, And the same thing goes for if you're live action, or you're somebody that is in animation, or you're in commercial production for commercials and advertisements or whatever, whichever, or even comics or whatever. You know your production pipeline. So where does it come from? Concept or script or shooting script or whatever the source is. How does that go all the way through the process of finally becoming the final movie, the final feature animation, the streaming show, the music video you'd watch on MTV, or whatever it might be? You need to know these things, and having that film language. There's so much to do with film, because what we're doing as a storyboard artist, we're translating that into the visual frame. Okay, and it's so important that you understand filmmaking, so that will help you become a better storyboard artist. And whether you're working in animation, because I know a lot of, I have quite a few good friends that were working on that Blue-Eyed Samurai show, and I know the show, from what I've seen, is it's besides being a fantastic show, it was also very cinematic in terms of what they're doing. And so it was created like a more of a film production in terms of rather than a cartoon or something like that. So awesome stuff, and I think it's so important for you friends out there to really hone in on your film language, how films are made, those type of things. So tonight we're going to be focused on the frame itself, the frame box, and how do we make that simple image into a cinematic image, that you're thinking about camera, you're thinking about lenses, you're thinking about framing, you're thinking about all the aspects that make a film look cinematic. Why is that different than a video? Just like I'm out there shooting, making a video, and I'm just doing my family's, birthday party type of thing. How do we make that look cinematic? There's so many different aspects that make this, make a film cinematic. And what are those things that you need to know? Maybe you need to know lenses. Maybe you need to know, different angles of your shots. Besides your basic, wide shot, medium shot, close up, and those type of things. And there's a reason for everything too. And I want you to be able to take all that information. So when you're sitting there storyboarding, you're thumbnailing, you're doing your roughs, you're going through your storyboarding process, that you're taking all those things into consideration as you're creating your boards. I don't know how many times I've spoken to other pros out there, and we'll be chit-chatting about all the work that goes into making a fantastic storyboard, or an animatic sequence, or your frames for the animatic sequence, and all that thinking and all those little thumbnails that you're doing. You don't never get to see that. You don't see that in the art of book or whatever. And I think it's really important to share that information, because it's just not like magic that I'm going to go and I'm going to create one image and then boom, it's magic into this final image you would see in a book, going, oh my God, there was so many iterations of that particular board being approved through the director, whoever you're working with, your client, until that final board is finally done and it's finished. There was a lot of thinking, and we're thinking as like a mini director. And that's what excites me about storyboarding, is that if you're working on your own individual project, that's one thing. You're creating your own screenplay, you're turning it into a shooting script, you're storyboarding your own work. And there's so many fantastic directors that already do that right now. From Ridley Scott, you can see Sir Ridley Scott's work everywhere now. He obviously was an art student, and very fantastic pen and ink drawings with a little bit of color, and with his storyboards, you had folks like Steven Spielberg doing his thumbnails of what he wanted to do for a particular sequence. It's all that thinking, and that's what excites me about storyboarding, because you're creating all that thinking. You're putting the visuals for the first time together for a film. You're working with the director, you're working with the screenplay writer, you're working with that shooting script, you're working with the vision, the director, and you're putting that all together to help them communicate and create that blueprint that the actors, the cinematographer, the set designers, the set dressers, lighting, everybody's on the same page, and you're setting that sort of blueprint that where that movie could go. And it's absolutely a phenomenal process, and it's lots of fun. Let me jump real quick into the chat. We got a lot of people in the chat, which I'm super appreciative of. Thank you so much for saying hello to everybody. Let's go back in. I'll try to pause here and there so we can say hi to everybody. So I was just last comment I saw was from Long, aka Useless Guy. I hope your connection's back up, my friend. I know you're way far away from me, and I'm happy you can join in. I got Ray. Hey, Ray, how's it going? Hi, Paul. A new fan here. Just started studying storyboards to better my comic work, and I've been binging on your live streams. Hey, super sweet. Thanks for watching. And that goes for everybody watching this right now or on the replay. I got 3 different playlists of the major groups of lessons that I do, whether it be Mastering the Basics, Sketching After Hours, or Storyboard Jam Sessions. And all the content is in one giant playlist for your viewing pleasure. So either watch it all and enjoy it and binge watch like Ray, or pick those a la carte type of variations and pick those topics that you want to work on at your pace. So everything is there right now. Yazalai saying, I'm working on my first storyboard I've ever done last week. Awesome. I can't wait to see it. I'm sharing it with you once it's done. Awesome. I can't wait to see it, Yazalai. Please share it with me over there on my Instagram. Make sure I get to see that. You can DM me over there that work. I'd love to see your work. And then I got my buddy Lauren. Hey, what's going on, Lauren? I got Buddha Belly here. Hey, everybody. So cool. Okay, let's get back into the lesson here of what we're talking about with cinematic storyboards and the topic for tonight. So turn this off. Boom. Okay. So like I said, having that film language is so critically important to be a successful storyboard artist. And I don't care if you're just doing live action or you're doing animation or feature. I think it all applies. A lot of the same rules will apply in terms of what you're doing. So I have this sort of shot here, and let's talk about where did I throw my notes here? So what are some simple steps that you can do to create some cinematic storyboards in terms of what you're doing? Okay. Get the pen here. See how big that is. So let's just say storyboarding, okay? And in storyboarding, I would say it is and understand, oops, film language, okay, so with storyboarding, I think it is so important to know and understand film language and the production pipeline. I think it is super important to know those things. It will make you a stronger storyboard artist. You'll be able to, because when you're talking to a director, and I'm working in live action, and you're working with a director, you need to be able to talk about lenses and talk about shots, and if I'm talking about a wide angle shot, or maybe I'm just talking about a lens. I'm looking at a 16 to 25 millimeter lens, or I'm talking about a 35 millimeter lens. I need to be able to talk the lingo. Or maybe they're talking to me in that language, film language, and I got to be able to interpret that and put that into my visual drawings. So I think it's super important that we have a chat like this. For those of you that are getting into storyboarding, or you've been working in storyboarding a little bit and you're like, man, I'm sort of hitting a plateau, I'm hitting that wall, and I'm trying to get better at what I'm doing. So I think it is so important to know this. MJS Hertz, hello, it's 1 p.m. right now for me. I'm doing comics for fun, and I thought I would pick something up here. You definitely will. I think you can bring in cinematic knowledge, Majas, and that will help you as you're depicting, because you're going to do the same thing in a comic book. You're going to have an establishing shot. You might have some, subjects against backgrounds. You're going to be doing all different types of visual storytelling tricks that we're going to be talking about here. I used to be a comic book artist. I did some of the first interactive comic books back in the early 90s called Reflux. I was working on a private, venture with Jackie Chan and Golden Harvest Communications. I was doing some cool stuff when it came to comics. So I'm quite familiar with comic books and comic book making, having made my own books and things like that as well. So very cool. So welcome, and Majas, and I hope you learn a lot. So, okay, so like I said, storyboarding, it is important to know and understand film language and the production pipeline. So how do we do this? And that's the question. So, Paul, okay, great. Great chitter chatter, buddy. But so, how do we do this? Okay, because when we're doing a storyboard, let me raise this up a little bit. So how do we do this? Oh, I forgot to add my question mark. Let's put a big question mark. How do we do this? Okay, and so if I'm doing a storyboard and you're sitting there going, okay, and I got my typical storyboard here, okay, and you're sitting there going, okay, Paul, da 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 da, okay, and maybe I know I'm going to do my storyboard, and then, okay, I'm going to have my character here. And have a character here, and he's looking on, or this is his back, his shoulder, type of thing. Got some background, or whatever it might be. Okay, and there's sort of my basic board. Okay, and you're like, well, it sort of looks flat. There's not a lot going on with it, Polly. How do I make this simple board more impressive in terms of what I'm doing, and whatever it might be. Okay, and it's like, how do we take all these elements from filmmaking and put it into this particular shot? So we do that, and I'm going to share some tips with you today. Okay, so I'm going to talk about, tonight we're going to be talking about tips. Oops. So tonight in this live stream, I'm going to share some tips on how to do that. So I'm going to work around a couple things first, and let's talk about some basic things that we can do to tell some stories in terms to make things look more cinematic. Okay. So the first thing I'm going to talk about our backgrounds. Okay. So you're sitting there going, well, why are you going to talk about backgrounds? I think backgrounds, whether they're in the shot or not in the shot, will help you to make your shot look more cinematic in terms of what you're doing. And so I think backgrounds are important because what do you include and what do you exclude in the background, okay? So what do you include and what do you exclude? So let's just say I'm going to do a shot. Jump in here real quick. Space, but let's draw our picture frame. Here. Put a second one right here. Okay, so we have a couple different picture frames here. So in the first frame, listen, I'm going to have a character here. Okay, and I got a character right here. So when I'm looking at backgrounds, I have no backgrounds in this shot. So if you're looking through here, there's barely any information in here, right? So in this area, there's no info. Okay, because you are completely focused on the subject itself of the character. So you're focused on this character and you're not focused on the background. Okay, and why do we want to do that? Maybe we're trying to get some emotional clarity on the focus of this individual. We want to see his expression. Maybe there's something we're communicating, you know, that the actor is acting in that shot. So the focus, like I said, is on this character here. So we want to get rid of all the information in the background so we can focus on the subject. And that's where the frame is important to what we're trying to do in the filmmaking. And we're going to talk about some ways on how do you do this through lenses, how do you do this with angles. We're going to talk a little bit about that as we do our storyboards. A quick shout out to Bruce Lee. Hey Bruce, how's it going? Bruce says, hey Paul, finally can make it back. Been watching your replays and they're amazing stuff. Cool. My friend, thanks for joining back again. Missed you. And so happy you could rejoin us tonight, and I appreciate you taking the time to watch the replays, Bruce. So we're talking about cinematic, language. We're talking about how do we do cinematic language, and what are those tips and tricks to get them into your storyboards, okay? So first thing we're talking about is backgrounds, okay? What to include and what to exclude. So with the shot on the shot A here, what we do is we're focused on the subject. We're focused on the character in the story. Right now we have a bearded man. We just drew quick. We're focused on him. We're focused about his emotional impact. He looks sort of sad or tired. We're focused on that emotion, okay? And the same thing goes on the reverse of that in terms of, get this back to my blue. And then when you're looking at the reverse of that, the same thing goes there too. Let's see. Drop this down a little bit. Cool. And the same thing goes over here. So if I have a character that is sitting on a chair, I have another character up here. I have another character over here. Maybe another character over here. You know, and then maybe over here, maybe this is, say this is the city or something like that. So let's shade this down a little bit. So we're focused on our subject there. Okay. So let's just say we're looking at this B shot. Okay, this is the B shot here. Okay, and so what's going on in this shot? What do we see? You know, yeah, our eye is focused on this character here. Change that color. Even though this guy might be completely white here, and we sort of have him sitting in his chair, and that's where our focus is that character, you know, in terms of what we're doing. But there's a lot of storytelling that's going on, you know, and when we think about the storytelling is, you know, let's just write down, so this character here, alone, you know, you're looking at him. He's alone. He's sitting alone. There's other people that aren't interacting with him in this shot. So this guy is, you know, is a character over here. You have a couple other characters over here. Nobody's talking to him. There's a character, you know, these are some other characters. You see that it's the big city. Got some buildings there. We could even, you know, a little bit too, we could have him with some sort of newspaper. Like he's reading the newspaper or something like that. So that's sort of the focus of what he's doing. So we know he's reading the newspaper, he's checking out the news, he's in the big city, there's something going on. So look at all this information, layers and layers of information we're putting into that storyboard shot, okay, to communicate story. That was the newspaper. Okay, and if we add more detail, maybe they're in a newsroom, or they're in a bar, we need to define, we can define that even more. But if you're looking between shot A and shot B, you know, and when we're talking about backgrounds, here on the shot A, we've excluded all data, all information, you know, so we're focused on the face of that particular character, okay? And then you move over to shot B, and that is with a lot of background. We're focused on the character, so we have some leading lines. We have sort of the way we rendered the quick drawing here, and we're focused on that particular character in the center of screen right now. and we know we're in the big city. We got a window here, we got some big buildings. He's looking at a newspaper. You got people all around. He's sort of isolated. He's lonely. He's not talking with a bunch of friends. Everybody's sort of situated in different, maybe they're talking to different people, and I can even tell more story with that. Maybe that person's talking to that person here, and these people are all talking to each other, and this person is by themselves. So there's so much data and so much cool layers of information that we're giving to that. And maybe we'll hang on that shot as a wide shot, using the camera's closer, or where everything is in detailed perspective, or everything is in focus for that particular shot. So when you're talking backgrounds and you're talking cinematography and making those shots look more cinematic, you sit there and go, okay, this is one type of shot on shot A, and on shot B is a different type of shot, and those will help you. And we can go more into that onto how you're putting together your storyboard frame, and you add those up in your sequences. Now you're telling a really deep story, rather than I just have this character, and you'll see a lot of new storyboard artists, whether you're in animation or other things, and it'll just be like, okay, cool, I'm gonna draw some guy and he's just gonna be la-ti-da, and he's happy, he's skipping, he's doing his thing. Maybe he's just carrying a box, and here's his line, and here's the shot. Okay, cool. It's not really cinematic. It's pretty flat, shot. And so these are some tips and tricks to work with that. So we were talking about, for backgrounds, how do we make it look more cinematic? And it comes down to what are you including and what are you excluding in that background. So okay, so let's continue looking at backgrounds a little bit more. I hope this is helping you, because we're really talking about filmmaking right now, and how to put that filmmaking into your storyboarding. And I think this is a critical, fun lesson. Take what you can out of this lesson, and then start practicing those things in your storytelling and in your visuals. I know I usually, when I give out assignments, it's like, how can you tell a story with one image? Okay, because if you can master telling a story with one single image, you can tell a story in a 3-act structure. Beginning, middle, end. Boom, 3 images, right? And once you can master that, now I can do hundreds of images, and you're starting to editing. How is that storytelling working through your sequence in terms of what you're doing? But if we go back to what we were just doing here, and you sit there and look at shot B, look at how much data and information, and it took me 2 seconds to draw that, but it's like so much data, and we can even pour more data. We can dress the set. We can tell you if we're in a bar, or if we're in the newsroom, or we're in a big business building. We could even give more information the more detail we add to it. Not that I'm going crazy with it, but there's certain shots that you can go that have layers of information to it, or we keep it pretty simple in terms of the left, because we're not worried about the information. We're worried about the information of what that actor and the acting that they're doing to generate that character's story through their facial emotions and other things like that. So, okay, let's continue going here. Let's talk a little bit more about, let me put this all together here. And we'll keep talking a little bit more about backgrounds, okay? So let's script those layers. I'm just going to say page 1. So I hope this is helping you out. If you're getting some great value out of this information we're sharing today, please consider subscribing. Subscribe to the channel. I update 3 times a week, give you some great valuable content. And the only thing you have to that I'm asking you for is just to subscribe to the channel. Watch the videos and watch the ones you enjoy. Drop a like and drop a comment. Really appreciate it. Pretty simple. And I'm happy to share with you. It makes me really happy to know that we're reaching so many fantastic artists out there. For you folks that are joining back in again, you haven't been here for a while, you're brand new, or you're here every single time during the week, Really appreciate all of you and appreciate your support of this channel so we can reach more artists out there. Okay, let's go on to more background and background information of what we can talk about in terms of filmmaking. So let's turn off this particular shot page and then scroll back up again, and we're going to continue to talk about backgrounds. Okay, get this set up. Throw a fresh layer down. Bam. So a lot of people ask me too, Polly, what software are you using? What fancy brushes are you using? And all that fun stuff. I'm going to tell you right now, I keep it really simple. I keep it simple for the live streams because I try to give it like tools that are basic that you guys can get at home. If you got access to Photoshop or a trial version, I tend to draw, I usually draw a lot in Photoshop when I'm thinking and doing stuff like that, or just basic sketching. And then I'll go into Storyboard Pro, I'll go into other programs. But my usual drawing programs I'm drawing in all the time are either going to be Photoshop or Painter. In terms of how I'm drawing, I keep it pretty simple. I use my when I'm using my brushes, I got a lot of different brushes, but I'm just using a hard round brush. That's it. You know, I think you can. Yeah, it's about your skill level. It's not about your brush. You know, there's some fantastic brushes that look great and make amazing work too. Don't get me wrong, and I love brushes too. But at the end of the day, the brush is just the tool. You still got to be a fantastic artist in terms of what you're doing. So don't let the, you know, if you're not doing the work, putting in the work and getting good at your craft of your visual storytelling or your basic artwork or perspective or composition or what you're doing, it doesn't matter what brush you throw at it. If you don't know perspective, it ain't going to help you. So you got to learn the fundamentals, and then you can use those tools to enhance your fundamentals. But you got to know the fundamentals. Okay, let's continue going. We're still talking about backgrounds. So backgrounds continued. So we're going to continue talking about backgrounds, okay? So if you think about it, as a filmmaker in your drawing, you're putting, the filmmaker might already have the visuals. Like if you're working with Ridley Scott, or you're working with Steven Spielberg or another director that's a very good artist themselves and was a storyboard. Like, there's a lot of directors out there that they were storyboard artists, because when you're a storyboard artist, you're working with all the directors all the time. The natural progression for you is to possibly become a director, and because you're talking film and you're working with some of the best filmmakers out there, and so it's sort of there. But the director or you as the storyboard artist are going to make that choice. You're deliberately making the choice of what the frame is focused on and how you tell a story, and how those backgrounds are looking. Maybe I'm telling a Blade Runner film where I know with the Dune Part 2, or you're doing some of these big epic Lord of the Rings, big fantasy films. You're going to have a lot of information you need to share with your audience, because you're world building. You're building these fantastic worlds, and how do you go about that? You're going to need a lot of imagery. You're going to need a lot of wide shots to be able to communicate that story. So there's going to be a lot of detail that you're going to be sharing what that world is about. Same thing goes about with the Batman, or I know James Gunn's working on the new Superman film, and you have to, when you're creating these fantasy worlds, yes, some of them are in reality, and those are sticking points, but when you're working with a fantasy film, you need to have a lot of information that you're sharing with your audience. So you're going to need a lot of establishing shots, wide shots, to be able to communicate that. So when you're having that, we want to see a lot of detail, a lot of information to give me the mood. You know, you're sitting there thinking of Blade Runner. It was always, every shot was dark. It was raining. You had the flying cars. You know, it was gritty. It was, you know, the frames were dirty. You know, those type of things. Or you look at something like The Batman, and very dirty frames, and you know, it gave you a mood, and you can feel it. You had the Detective Comics feel that Batman was a detective, and you know, figuring out crimes and things like that. So very, very cool in how you're looking at it. So it's important to you as the storyboard artist to sort of what are you going to include, what are you going to exclude, what deliberate choices are you making, or how are you working with that director to make those deliberate choices of how you put those shots together. I think it's really important to also is where you place your subject. You know, and so if I'm drawing a shot, in terms of what we're doing, you're you're usually placing the actor on the background. You know, the director will sit there and block the scene with the actors and what you're doing, and you know, they'll figure out where they want to place the camera, and then you always want the subject to be against. It depends on how you want that character to be against the background itself. So, and then how is that in a sense? So you're talking basic photography, you're talking basic filmmaking in terms of what you're doing. So, how is the subject placed against the background? So if I have, and you can do all different types of things to make it. Maybe I might have a female character. And we want to have her placed on some sort of background where we have her party scene or something like that. And she's on a background of lights or something like that. So I think it's really important as the filmmaker, how are you doing that? You know, how are you making those shots work for yourself? You know, what is the storytelling, you know, that you're doing? So maybe the background is there. We're just doing some simple thumbnails, no fancy drawings. We're just trying to communicate what's going on, and maybe all the patterns of light or something. It's giving you some sort of ambiance of what you're doing, besides the alcohol that she's drinking. Okay. And you know, we maybe we're trying to tell some sort of story, you know, and we're trying to convey some sort of information. Another, you know, we'll talk about this in a second, but maybe, you know, maybe I have a shot like this. And maybe I have my character here. And my background is pretty detailed, but I'm trying to show my character in this world. And sometimes what I'll do is you could blur the background. So this might be blurred. And my focus is we want that character to sit out. You know, we want that character to stand out. So maybe I'll blur this, or I'll do it as a different color. I'll do something into how we can work that background around. You know, where this character here in focus, and the background is out of focus. And that's what's great about Photoshop. We can do that within Photoshop and just create that. So, you know, we're just placing, you know, how do we place that character in the background? Because we can change things depending on how that background is behind that character. So another example of that would be, so let's say I have my shot, my frame. Let's erase that. Let's get our picture frame in there real quick. Let's just say I draw my character here. Okay, so this is a basic shot like that, and let's just say I have my horizon line. But if I change, you know, the horizon line in the shot, you get, so depending on how you have your subject in the background, you can change how things look in this shot, you know, in terms of your background. Even if I'm changing, and I'm just changing the horizontal line, let's just like rotate it into a Dutch angle or something like that. Look at how that shot is changing just by moving that line around in terms of what I'm doing here. And there's a lot of differences that you can make within that shot. So I think it's super important how you're in, you know, you're using that background, you know, how are you conveying information within the shot, you know. That other example I had over here on that example B, it's like, how did you dress that shot? You know, how are you designing that room in a sense? You know, when we look at something like this, you know, there's a lot of, it's a very simple, crude thumbnail drawing, but there's so much data that we're conveying within that shot. It's all simply done, and it's all thumbnailed out. And then I'll go back in and I'll revise it. Maybe I can see what paper he's reading. Maybe I'll have the conversation on these characters on the right and do something with them. Maybe I'll blow up this, you know, the city. Am I in Brooklyn, New York? Am I in Los Angeles? Am I in, you know, somewhere else? Am I in Europe somewhere? You know, what are these guys over here? Is this a bar, or is this a copier at the office? And we'd be taking all that information. It's simplified because we're focused on this character here, but we're conveying a lot of layers of information within that background too, in terms of what we're doing. So I think, you know, there's a couple other things we can talk about with backgrounds as well. Let's turn this off real quick and chat about that just for a second, as we're teaching some basic filmography stuff here. Let's turn these all back on. Boop. Okay. So again, we were talking about the backgrounds. Another thing too is if you think about your image, and do you want your image to be flat or show depth? Okay, so your frame, show flat, or show depth. Okay, and I think when we show depth, boy, my pen is working funky. Boy, my pen is all over the place. Come on, work with me. Boy, depth adds to a cinematic shot, and that's all I'm trying to write there. Okay, and what I mean by that is let's talk about this. Okay, so let's just say I have a character here. Okay, and the character maybe he has a some sort of cybernetic gun or something like that. Okay, so he's right here. Okay, so what we're doing is, and then we have him there. Ray just chatted in, says, "Hey Paul, I'll continue watching later today. Thanks again. Stay safe during the storm." Hey, thanks so much, Ray. Appreciate you joining in. Appreciate you hanging out with us tonight. And just shoot me a quick little DM or shoot me a comment here. Let me know that you finished it up and you were able to watch the show. So I appreciate you again. Thanks for joining me, Ray. Appreciate you. So right now we have this little character here and we're talking about depth. How do we add some depth to that shot? So let's draw our picture frame around it a little bit. Do that right here. Let's grab our little character here. Let's shrink him down a little bit because we want to show his environment that he's in. I think it's always a good rule of thumb to scale him down a little bit. Okay, so let's just say he's right there. He's in just sort of thinking out loud here while we're working. we could sort of create this shot sort of like that a little bit. And so what we're doing is we got all these, throw another layer in there real quick. And all we're doing is we're just adding complexity to this shot. And we're trying to just add depth to this shot. And that's all we're doing is we're adding complexity to the shot, and so we're adding depth, and we're using a little bit of tone. We're adding some depth to that shot. So I think that's what makes a shot. So it's a simple shot here, but that's what helps it make it cinematic as well, too. And it's like another couple things to think about too. When you're talking about backgrounds, I'm gonna stop talking about backgrounds. It's do a little diagram here. We're talking filmmaking right now. And we'll get into lenses in a second, but you know, what we're trying to do is create depth in that shot. And you think about it, here's your camera here. And you're trying to figure out between where how far is the camera away from your actor, you know, how is that going, how is that distance from the background to create that depth. So if I'm trying to create you know, am I trying to do that with a wide angle lens? Am I doing that with a medium lens? If I'm doing that with a telephoto lens, you know, how am I creating that depth of field, that depth in the actual shot itself? Okay, enough of that for backgrounds. Any questions? Throw it into the chat. Always love it when everybody's participating. Okay, so we've talked about, I think we've talked about backgrounds enough. Let's talk about lenses, okay? And I think lenses are super important to talk about. We can have a whole other live stream about lenses themselves and talk about it more, but I think it's important to know. And I think, let me throw a quick save on here so we don't lose this stuff. Cool. Okay, so the next thing we're going to talk about is lenses. And so we're talking about all the tips and tricks on how to help your storyboards look more cinematic. So let's talk about the lenses, okay? You know, there's all different types of lenses that a camera can have. And if you're not familiar, here's your movie camera, if you're going to do it like that, or a digital camera. And the lens is this part of the camera. Okay, So we want to focus on the lens, and you can simply, when we're talking about stuff, you could play around with lenses. You can use excuse me. You can use your cell phone, and use that. You can use a DSLR camera, and you can work with your different types of lenses. Like I have a telephoto lens on this particular D160 camera I have here. I use this as my sort of my run and gun camera if I'm shooting something simple. But I think it's super important to know your lenses and how your lenses work. I don't know if I have any other lenses sitting around, whether if I have a telephoto lens or whatever I might have on me, and I'll interchange these lenses in terms of how I'm going to shoot and practice. And I would say is and my point with this is, even if you just have a cell phone, practice with lenses. Learn how lenses work. What is a wide angle lens? What is a medium-sized lens? What is for example, like this one here, what is a telephoto lens? How does that lens work for you? So, I think it's important to know how those work. Tornado T, I remember when you said that in storyboarding we show the story versus telling it. Yeah, definitely. We want to, that's a great segue. We've talked about that many times, is we want to share that with what you see in your visuals, in terms of the storytelling. And we don't want to tell you. We don't want a bunch of exposition, a bunch of words coming out of the actor's mouth, and to say, because it sort of sounds silly, to sit there and go, I'm frustrated, I'm sad. You don't need to do that. You need to show it. And that's why we do gesture drawings. That's why we do all those things. You're sitting there, we were talking about background shots just a second ago, and you're sitting there giving all this extra information, little details. Not every shot is going to be like that, but if I'm doing an insert shot of, I want to see the documentation of the telegram that the soldier died, and the mother's getting a telegram. I want to say, blah, 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 dear Mrs. Blank, your son had died in battle, blah, 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 blah. We want to see, it's a telegram, I think there's certain bits of information that we can show and not tell you. You don't have to sit there and have the character saying, I just received this telegram from the military office that my son had passed. No, you don't, that just doesn't make sense. So Tornado T, absolutely right. So let's go back to focal lengths of lenses real quick, and how will that help you, because that's how you're going to be shooting those backgrounds or no backgrounds, and picking out those shot sizes for yourself as well. Okay, so we were sort of giving that quick example, and I would say there's a few major groups of lenses. So practice with your cell phone, because a lot of cell phones today, you could use, you have your wide angle lenses. You have your medium lenses. And then you have your telephoto lenses. Okay, so there's all different types of lenses. Majas just said, that's interesting. I've been rebellious about studying gesture drawing, even though I want to be able to tell a story with characters. Haha. Yeah, I would say you're going to become an even better story artist and storyboard artist, Majas, if you practice and hone in on your gesture. Because remember, Tornado T was just making a comment on a statement I made, is we want to show. We don't want to tell the audience. And the better you can convey, sadness, happiness, mischief, evil, whatever in your not only in your gesture drawing of your physical body of your character, but also too within the facial expressions. If you can nail those out, you're going to become an even better story artist, because you're going to be able to emote those feelings through those characters that you're drawing in your boards. So super important to do there. So back to this real quick. We're talking about the different types of angles and wide angle lenses. You'll see them, they're all measured in focal length. And it's done with millimeters. Okay, so you always see like a f-stop and whatever millimeters, whatever it might be, in terms of what, 35 millimeter, whatever it might be, in terms of what you're doing. So a wide angle lens is roughly 16 to 25 millimeters is the lens type. Okay, a medium lens is anywhere between 35 millimeter and maybe 65 millimeter. Okay, and usually that 35, let me write that down over here. The 35 millimeter lens is just sort of, everything is sort of normal picture size. Okay. Back in the days before digital photography, everything was film-based photography, and it was pretty much you had a 35 millimeter camera, a 35 millimeter lens on your camera. It just gave you, it shows the human eye sees. Okay. It gives you an example right there. So a 35 millimeter is sort of your basic lens, and that's what is when you're filming with a 35. It's just normal. You're in neutral. You're in what everybody can see today. Is if I'm looking out something, that's predominantly what a 35 millimeter lens looks like. And then a telephoto lens would be 75 plus millimeter. Okay, let's see. And you'll see that on your camera with your f-stop of what you're doing here on your camera. Let me see what this one is. This one is so old. It doesn't give me the range in this one, so cool. But anyways, let's see if this one does. Oops. So this is 18 to 135 millimeter on that f-stop. So we have this. So you got to understand your lenses, and then you're sitting there going, well, so the focal length is degrees of magnification in length based in millimeters, and that's sort of how a lens works. And we can go more in depth later about that in another episode. But now it sort of reverts back into what we were talking about with backgrounds. Okay, and that is the wider, a wide shot using a wide angle lens. It sort of it stretches that image to see more background. So when you're stretching that image, you'll see more background, and you could have it so you see both in focus your character, your subject, and then or your element, and then also you'll see the background. Okay, so usually wide angle lenses are used for those establishing shots, shots between sequences. We're conveying that the character is moving from the city to the country, whatever it might be. And what we see with a long focal lens, or if a 35 millimeter, and that medium size lens gives you just sort of a normal look. Okay, the extreme of the wide is going to be the telephoto lens, which is where the frame is compressed, and you're going to see less background. And what ends up happening is your character will be in focus, and your background will be blurred when you're zooming in on that character. So the character will be focused and the background blurred. Okay, or you could do the reverse, where the background is in focus and the character is blurred, and go back between. There's different ways you can do this with your lenses and stuff, but you have to know your lenses so you can be able to work with your directors, work with whoever's the animation or whatever you're doing. So you have to have that basic information, that basic knowledge of what you're doing, so you can share that through your storyboards. So those are two different things we've spoken about right now on tips. One is how do you work those backgrounds? Number two is how do you work those lenses to put that into your drawing for your storyboards. So I think those are two really critical points of what we're talking about today. And our point of our lesson today is about how do I make my storyboards more cinematic. And we're going pretty decently in depth in terms of more of an intermediate level of filmmaking right now, or basic filmmaking. So you can take this knowledge and then go put those into your boards and into your drawings, whether you're doing your comic, or you're doing your animation project, or you're working on your storyboards for your feature film. So I think all these things have special relevance, and you need to understand how these things work in terms of what you're doing. And if you don't, go get some more research, and hopefully we can do another video, or I'll do an actual video about lenses and those type of things. But let me know if you'd like to see more about those topics. We can go over those separately. I'll try to focus on future live streams with that information. So let me know in the chat. Appreciate everybody joining in. Let me take a sip of my drink here. And let's continue going. So the next section, another tip for you all. That helps your storyboards look more cinematic. And we're going to talk about frame composition. Okay. So with that, I think one of the big things to do with that is with the rule of thirds. You'll see the rule of thirds in most DSLR cameras. You'll see it on your cell phone. All it is a grid on your that you can pull up. And within that grid, you are going to have 2 vertical lines and 2 horizontal lines that will get it close as I can. That will go and will cut your image into 9 different quadrants within there. And what we're trying to do is that where these intersect is important too. So we're talking about how do we make our storyboards more cinematic, and we're using that rule of thirds, okay? And what we're trying to say is when we're lining up some characters or important subjects of what we're trying to do, maybe I have one character that I have on this vertical line in the rule of thirds, and maybe I have another character on the rule of thirds. So I have them on those intersecting lines. And this is one way I can do it. I can do this another way. Maybe I have maybe I have another rule of thirds where it's maybe I'm focused on this character right here. And then I had another character here. In the foreground or something like that. And that's what helps to make we're talking a little bit about composition. We're talking about these shots in terms of what we're doing. In terms of what we're doing, that composition and using the rule of thirds helps you get more cinematic in terms of your shots. Let's just say we're looking at a shot and we're trying to I'm trying to look at my notes here while I'm talking. With the rule of thirds here, maybe we're talking about a landscape. So let me grab another. Let's grab another one over here. This one right here. Oh, I am so sorry. I did not turn off Big Paul. There we go. So one more time, because I didn't have the video on this, is we were talking about the rule of thirds. Okay, for frame composition, we have two vertical and two horizontal lines that are interconnecting, and where those interconnections meet is where we want to place our subject, on there to have our eye focus on that. This is more of almost a symmetrical shot in terms of what we're doing there. We also did the same type of shot, so we have one character in the background and one character in the foreground, and we're using that rule of thirds to place our characters. This next little thing I'm doing here is to talk about, like, if we're going to do a landscape or something like that. So say I was doing a landscape shot or something like that, what I would do is I would keep your land area here on the bottom third of the line. And I give myself plenty of sky. Something like that. If I was going to do the rule of thirds to have some balance in my shot. And if I wasn't going to do that, and I wanted to see more ground than sky, I can do the reverse of that. So let me get that pink again. And then what I can do is use this line up here. We can change that. Then focus more on the ground itself. So we're using that rule of thirds, either more sky over here in that particular shot, or more ground. And we're using those horizontal lines to do that. So using the rule of thirds, it helps a filmmaker, and it'll help you in your storyboards as well in terms of what you're doing. Okay. So that's the rule of thirds. Another when we're talking about these guides or the rule of thirds, another little strategy too, I was just thinking about as I was drawing these shots here. Let's just do a shot right here. Is usually when you have a subject, you could use leading lines. So that's another way to make your leading lines help your shots look more cinematic too. So it could either be symmetrical, where I have a character here, that's there, and I have him, this is where hallways work really well, and he's coming down the hallway. and you might have some leading lines for that character coming down the hallway. Maybe it's a School of Rock type of thing. And what ends up happening is the leading lines, and you're using the lines of the background to help you direct your vision to this character in the center. And this is a cool little trick, and you'll see this in movies all the time. So we want to focus on this dancing character there, and we're using all these lines to focus the viewer's attention on the main subject, which is this character here. This is how we use leading lines. You could do it like something like that, or say I have a shot that is here, and maybe maybe this character is right here, and he's working on some sort of computer. And so what ends up happening is the same sort of technique happens too, is you would place that character on somewhere where there are leading lines for you to focus on that one character. And you'll see this naturally when you're shooting your film, you know, in terms of when you're behind the camera, but also we're trying to do, we can do that too. So sometimes if there's a 3D environment, you might get some, in animation, you might get some pre-specs or something like that, or some concept art, or you might get some shots of where they're going to be shooting a sequence as some information for you, and you can put that into your storyboards for there, and that helps you to make so using leading lines helps your images become more cinematic as well. So let's pull this together. And I hope this is giving you good folks at home some great value. Another way, how do you go about studying composition for film? There are so many different things out there in the JAWS that you can study from, books on composition. You know, out there's a lot of books on composition, and we're talking the basic composition of what makes a good picture or makes a good drawing. Composition, there's so many different compositional books out there, or YouTube videos to just talk about composition and what makes strong composition. I think here we're talking leading lines. We'll talk about a few other things, but you know, here there's actually, I have if you go back in my past live streams, I forgot what series it was, but you can look through all the videos or search the video. I have a few videos on composition already. So if you want to learn the basics of composition and composition for storyboarding, take a look at those videos when you get a chance. Okay, so we just got done talking about leading lines. Let me put that all together. Okay. Another thing you can do too, and this helps with your composition, what Majas is trying to do there too. Yeah, of course, happy to help out. is a frame within a frame. That's another cheat too, to have your boards look more cinematic. Is a frame within a frame. That helps you to look more cinematic. So if I have a shot like this, okay, and I have like a circle, you think about it, I think this shot was something like in Gravity with Sandra Bullock, where the character was in like a fetal position. And she was sleeping. Oops. In like a circle shape, and then in the shape I guess the lighting of the sleeping chamber she was in, you know, and what you're doing is you're creating a frame within a frame. Another one would be like westerns. So if I have something like a John Wayne the Duke, he's coming within the door frame. And this is what we mean by a frame within a frame. Move that down if you can't see that. So these are their just simple composition techniques and tips. You know, so a frame within a frame. You're using doors, you're using windows. You saw it in Citizen Kane. There's all different situations you can do to use a frame within a frame. But that helps you to look more cinematic in terms of of how you're putting that shot together. But utilize that. Use that sometimes. Use shapes. You can either do it by shape or a frame within a frame. We were talking about the movie Gravity with Sandra Bullock, and there's like if you think about it, it looks like a fetal position of a baby in the womb type of thing. And she was connected to get her oxygen tank or something like that within her spacecraft. Would a triangle be a good one, Paul? Yeah, definitely. Triangles would definitely work for you too. You can use all different shapes, triangles too. It even could be some sort of like alien. You know, you could do too a shape within a shape. Let's talk about like a fighting arena or something like that, and you're using that shape like that. And there's a gunman here, like the good, the bad, the ugly, or something like that. Gunman here. So you can use some different. You can use those shapes too, so that's a great one, Tornado T. But yeah, you can use these shapes, so a triangle shape, in terms of what the storytelling we're telling here. You know, there's a three-way duel going on, you know. You know, in terms of how you're doing it. So yeah, you can do all those different shapes. So I hope that helps you out. Yeah, watch The Good, the Bad, the Ugly, see if they use that shape. I know they use the circle shape, like an oval, in The Good, the Bad, the Ugly, and it sort of went like, you know, each of the characters, they didn't make a shape, but they had all the gravestones. If you watch The Good, the Bad, the Ugly, Sergio Leone, one of my favorites. You know, you sort of got that shot there too. So some quick ideas there for you too. And so we were talking about frames with the frame. I think another one to think about too is shots. Okay, how do you make your storyboards look more cinematic? It'd be your shots. Okay, and what I mean by that is, and we've talked about this before, so check out some of those other videos on the different shots that storyboard artists use. But we talk about a wide shot, or extreme wide shot. We talk about a full shot, a medium shot, a close-up, we talk about you know, insert shot. So if I need, again, the phone is ringing, I need a shot of that phone or whatever it is. I think there's a lot of things to do to work on those shots. So let's just say I have a medium shot. Of two folks, okay? They're at a dining table type of thing, and you know, they're sitting here, they're talking at a table here. So if I see the distance of this, you know, sort of a medium shot, and I see the distance, maybe they don't know each other. Okay, proximity, because they say when people are closer together, there's a more emotional attachment. There's more intimacy in between the two characters when you're shooting the film. So if I have two characters in a medium shot, they're further away from each other. Maybe there's some tension. Maybe there's something else going on. Or, you know, when you have two characters that are literally like right there with each other, and they're in close proximity, you know, maybe that is more intimate because they're closer together, you know, in terms of, you know, when you're thinking about the shots and the blocking of those characters within there, maybe it's more intimate in terms of what you're doing. Another thing too that makes your storyboards more cinematic is going to be your camera angle. Okay, and what I mean by that is that, let's just say I have a shot that's a low angle shot. That's a low angle shot, and you know, maybe it's that makes this character look more imposing. So if I have a superhero, he's just going to look stronger, you know, as he's there. If I did the reverse of that, and this is where the camera is tilting up, and the subject is there, and I'm down there shooting up at that character is going to look more massive, more muscular. We're going to see that character, you know, stronger that way. If we do the reverse of that and do a high angle, like the reverse of that shot, maybe that character, even though they're Superman or whoever they might be, but it's a low angle shot. They're just inferior. So if I had a bigger character here, Doomsday or something else, it's just that that character looks more minuscule and diminished. Even though it's Superman, they still look diminished. Okay, so depending on your angle, you know, of your shot, or if you're just, hey, listen, I want just a run-of-the-mill shot. I want it at eye level. So this would be a low angle. High angle. And then it's just, this is just your average. Oops. Median angle shot where I'm just sort of like, okay, cool, he's right there. It's usually like eye level. That's just your regular eye level shot. you know, in terms of that shot. And it's just an eye level shot. Okay. Another thing too, when we're talking about shots, a little bit about composition too. So we've been talking about all these different things to help you out there to how do I make my storyboard shots more cinematic. Okay, another one would be looking at you know, your balance. I think balance is really important too. Okay, and what I mean by that is you have a positive and negative space. Okay, and what I'm sort of looking at that, it's like if I have a character, oops, let's just say we're using a superhero. And say we have this character. I'm thinking of this, the positive and negative space. And what I mean by that is that if he's the positive, all this area around the character is negative, or vice versa, you know. And when we're using that that space, you know, in terms of the character and stuff like that, you have all this space. If I create the positive is the blue and the negative is the red, or vice versa, you know. So if I'm looking like this, we just got the positive and negative space of what we're doing. Okay, or we do the reverse of that, where our character oops, is the negative space, and the blue is the positive of that around him. And that's all we're talking about, is that positive space and negative space of what you're trying to do. And you can either have symmetry or asymmetry going on within your shot as well. And what I mean by that is either your, I'll draw a little teeny one here. All I'm talking about with symmetry and asymmetry is it off balanced, you know, or is it balanced? Okay, if I have some sort of device here, some sort of device there, you know, it's sort of balanced for that particular character. You know, everything is symmetrical, so everything is together. Or if I'm looking at it like this and I want asymmetry. So maybe there's something here. It's all like this. And the characters there sort of off is asymmetrical, you know, in terms of what we're doing. There's no balance. There's nothing on the opposite side. So there's a few different things too, you know, with symmetry and asymmetry in terms of what we're doing. Let me put that together. Page 5. Cool. Got a lot going on here. I think one other thing to going a little bit over right now, but one more thing we'll talk about too. I think to help you and to sort of bring it home and finalize what we're talking about tonight. We've been spending the whole couple hours here talking about how to make your storyboards more cinematic and what are some cinematic techniques you can use. The other one, the last one I'll leave with is the 180 degree rule. Okay, and what we're talking about with that is that if we have two people and we're shooting two people talking, one person's there, one person's there, and we're shooting them, and let's just say the camera is right here, camera's right there, or the camera is right there. So say if there's a plane here, that camera will swing on 180 degrees. So the camera is not going to go behind them, you know. We're not going to go past this area. You know, the camera will swing back and forth because it keeps everybody in perspective, you know, and it keeps everybody in the shot. So if you start cutting and you break that, and sometimes not all the time, but if you're there and you're breaking that 180 degree rule where the camera is going on the opposite side, maybe there's a reason to break the rule, and rules are to be broken too, but in your basic filmmaking, that camera isn't going to pass that 180 degrees. It's going to go, if I'm shooting two people having a conversation, that camera is going to go either behind, you know, and see them in a 2-up, or it's going to swing behind the shoulder of this character, behind this character, you know, seeing that character in the foreground, or whichever way it might work. And so the 180 degree rule is something there. So if I see a camera here on the you know, figure, let's call this 1, 2, 3. So if I'm going to see a shot of that camera 1 over here, what that is sort of going to look like is one character is going to be here. He's going to be talking to the other character that's over here. Like that. Shot number 2 is each character talking to each other. they're having their conversation. Like that. And then camera 3 would be the reverse of camera, or the first shot, in which this character is talking to that character. And that's how that would work, and that's how we would not break that 180-degree rule. Okay. And sometimes we would do it with, you know, we're talking about composition shots and stuff like that. So one last thing I'll leave you with. Yeah, so it's rotating the scene. You're just rotating the camera, and you're showing the rotation of the camera by the way each of those shots are put together. These are some basic rudimentary things on how you can do that. Okay. Okay, and another one would be is like a shot. So if I have a shot here, and I have this character talking, open that one. I have this character talking. A couple of things we talk about too when you're composing your shots. If you're looking at this area here, or that area here, we talk about this as headroom. And breathing room. So it's stuff to think about when you're building your sequence, or you're doing that 180 degree rule. You're doing a reverse shot in terms of two people having a conversation. And there's things that you can do. So you always want to leave enough headroom when you're drawing those shots, or enough breathing room. The breathing room is that if I have somebody over here and that person is talking to another person that's right here, let's draw that real quick. You can sort of get the idea of those shots. So if he's talking to a woman, we want to make sure that she has enough headroom and breathing room as well. Okay. So as we're cutting between the two scenes, between A and B, that there's enough breathing room in between each shot. So if I'm just looking at the one shot and go to the other shot, there's enough there. And the same thing happens too if you're not doing it like that, and you're trying to isolate somebody. And so there's a lot of different tricks that you can do too. And let's just say I have a shot here. Let's get that in the corner a little bit more. Let's just say I have some sort of corner here in this shot. Okay. And then I have my character. Let's do that character in red. We can make that character look isolated, and this is a combination of using that positive and negative space, your angle, in terms of what you're doing. So how do we make that person real lonely in that shot? And the same thing goes with that shot above that we just did. So if I have a shot like that, I'll draw these thumbnails like that. Maybe that character oops. Let's do that one more time. Let's just say that we're keeping that character on purpose, the opposite way. It creates a different atmosphere in terms of your shots. So, okay, let's put this together. Page 07. Okay. Cool. So I hope everybody got a great deal out of our lesson for today. This is our lesson on cinematic storytelling and cinematic storyboarding. So I hope all of you guys at home and either here on the live stream or watching this on the replay got a lot of value out of tonight's, we went about 2.5 hours into cinematic storyboarding. And I hope you got some great value out of this. We've talked about the tips on how to make your simple storyboard drawings more cinematic. And like I said, I think it's super important to have that knowledge, that film knowledge, and it's super important, in terms of what we're talking about tonight. So I think it is, like I said before, it's important to know and understand film language and the production pipeline. Maybe down the road we'll talk about the production pipeline, but it needs to, it's important to know film language. So we talked about the importance of backgrounds, and that, relaying the information that you want to share, whether it be the acting information or the information you're showing in that particular shot. We went through various different ways how we stage characters and place them against backgrounds. We talked about the frame. Do we want the shot to be flat, or do we want depth? We then talked about lenses. We talked about from everything from a wide angle to a telephoto lens and how to use those lenses in terms of your craft. What's a wide angle, versus telephoto lens. We also talked about your rule of thirds and frame composition on bringing depth into your shots. We talked about leading lines tonight as well. We talked about a frame within a frame. We talked about using shapes and shape language to have that frame. We talked about various different shots, whether it be a wide shot, medium shot, close-up, or insert shot. We also talked about camera angle. Is this a low angle, high angle, or eye level? And then we talked about balance between positive and negative space. And then we wrapped it all up, in with the 180-degree rule. So by knowing all these different things, these will help you become a better storyboard artist. Use this as a reference as you go back and forth as you're drawing your storyboards. So if this is bringing you some great value tonight, and I hope you learned a lot, so I would ask you for your subscription to the channel if this brought you some great value. Don't forget to like and comment on this particular video too. It helps push this video out in the YouTube algorithm out there, so we can I can reach other artists out there. So again, I just want to thank everybody that joined me on the live stream. I had Majas, thank you so much for joining in. I got my buddy Lauren, Buddha Belly. I had Tornado T. We had Ray. Thanks again, Ray. And if you're catching this, I hope this was fun for you and that you were able to watch the rest of the replay. I had my friend Bruce Lee. Hey, what's up, Bruce, again? I'm glad you're able to join in. And I got Yazalai, who joined in as well. I think it was, Ray jumped on. Appreciate you. Had Long, known by Useless Guy. Lots of good people on here, and I appreciate everybody joining in on tonight's live stream. Again, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, and when you're done watching this video, there's a whole bunch, over 120 hours of other live streams going over all the fundamentals of storyboarding, our SketchUp sessions, and finally our jam sessions on Saturdays. So again, I appreciate you watching and hanging out with me tonight. I look forward to the next time we get together on Thursday for our Sketching After Hours session. It'll be around the same time. And again, I'll leave you with my contact information if you'd like to get in touch with me via Instagram or other avenues of contact. And I look forward to seeing you in the very next video. So until then, take care and have a great night.